Greetings, Ashen here, and today I'm going to be discussing with you the new age of indie comics horror. That's right, after my other video, people seem to really enjoy hearing about the new age of indie comics heroes. Well, now we're moving in a darker direction, and I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorite indie comics horror series. So here we go. The Replacer. Yes. Now, this comic here is a one-shot. I guess it isn't a series, but it is definitely excellent horror. And because it is just one issue, this is something you can easily pick up and get for yourself or your friends or whatever. And it is a good read. It can be viewed as either psychological or physical. And that's one thing that is really cool about it. You get to decide how this story goes down, because this can be taken different ways and it's really up to the reader to decide how they perceive it. Anyway, it's brutal in areas and scary. It messes with your head. And let's move on to the next title. Now, my personal favorite out of all three of these is Teether. Teether is one of my favorite horror series ever created. I think it is my top number one because it is so brutal. It is a Lovecraftian horror story that I'm going to show you a few issues of. Here is number one. This is the standard cover A. And then we go to a variant cover that is meant to homage a Spider-Man cover. That's really cool. And then we're going to go to the second printing cover, which is still available. This is a Kelsey Shannon cover. Love that guy. So this is a really cool cover from him. I know he works with Antarctic Press, and this series is from Antarctic Press. Now, this series is about a group of friends who venture off into the woods, and they're confronted with a Lovecraftian horror that consumes one of them, a little girl named Lily. Now, Lily is not killed, even though she is devoured by the beast. So when she comes back, she wants revenge on her friends that led her to her fate. So she's a bit sympathetic. She's a bit wild. It's a really fun ride, though. It is brutal, brutal horror that is very shocking, especially because it is all little kids being killed and mangled and stuff. So it really pushes the ballot. It is something that I highly recommend if you are a fan of horror on any level. Here's the final issue, number 4. You can see the insides. Oh God, what is that? And then after the 4-issue series wrapped up, we have a 1-issue extension of the series. It's a one-shot called Teether, A Long and Lonesome Road. I went ahead and did a review on this. So if you want to see what happens after the first story wraps up, this is wonderful, brutal. Once again, people will be upset with this if you're easily offended. This is the type of story that the creator is wonderful at art and storytelling and does not hold back. So there you have Teether. Highly recommended, okay? My favorite out of all of them, and these are all amazing titles. Next, I want to talk about The Plot. Went and got the retro cover for this one. It's very beautiful looking. I think this is a homage to the first appearance of Swamp Thing or something like that. So that's really cool. Issue number 1. The Plot is a sort of a family drama about a haunted house, a haunted property, and the horrible history of the family that lies within. Secrets hidden, coming to light in horrific manifestations. But it is definitely a fun read. The visuals are amazing, like something like Guillermo del Toro would direct. But look at that. Just an example of it. It's a Crazy Creek. If you've seen the movie Lady in Black, like the remake of it that came out a few years back, visuals similar to that, but tied into a whole family story. And I don't really want to spoil anything for you. There is a monster roaming around, though, killing people. with a purpose. It's this creature right here. And it is just a fun read. It's very classic in nature, like 1950s horror, but it has a more of a brisk pace and doesn't get bogged down by the family stuff too much. Keeps the visuals appealing, keeps you reading. Then we have issue number 7. And the final one. I loved how with the variants for this, you see they look distressed. And I tried to get as many of those as I could, especially the ones I liked. You get the standard cover or the distress variant. But yes, this is just such a fun read. If you like more of a classic feel for your horror, there is this isn't as brutal of a horror. There is brutality in it and gruesomeness, but not like Teether. Let's put it that way. Now, this series is an exception from the rest. The Nice House on the Lake is not complete yet. It is being written by James Tynion IV, and so you know it's a really good writer. So that's why I am going ahead and giving this as a recommendation. The first several issues have been wonderful. I really enjoy the feel of this. Comic can be a little word heavy. That's kind of how he writes. But it all builds, and it really gets you to know the characters and understand how they feel in the situation. But here is Nice House, number 1. Nice House on the Lake. This is a story that really throws a curveball at you. If you don't want to know, then I am going to spoil it. So after the first issue comes to a close, I just got a second cover for it here. We find out that the guy who invited all his friends to the lake house, he's not human. And all his friends are surprised to find that he has put them there for a reason. The reason they are in this nice lake house is because the world is coming to an end around them. And this is something that he knew about, if not orchestrated himself. But he is keeping them there so that way they will not perish in the doom and demise of the rest of mankind. Anyways, this is my pick for the new age of horror comics. All of these are excellent reads. I highly recommend them. This one is probably the most popular because it's a popular writer on DC as a black label. So that one is getting the most press. This is my favorite. This is a wonderful series that I didn't see coming out of anywhere. It just really surprised me, and I got on and just kept reading and reading. It's really the same way for this one too, The Replacer. That one was just something I came across on the shelf. The art kind of drew me in, seeing that family and this horrible monster tree-looking shadow over it. Like, what could that possibly mean? And one thing I'll say is a lot of series nowadays have this whole trope about plants and plants equaling horror and stuff like that. But none of that ever really won me over. None of those stories were ever good enough for me to really super enjoy. But these series definitely all have a different feel from each other, and they all work so well for what they are. I know that this is just a single issue, but if this was a series, I probably would have recommended it just the same. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Yes.